What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Travis. Of course, this is TWA Motorsports, and today, well, we're back on the GMC, and as the title says, and as the parts you can see, guys, we are going to be doing some AC fixing. And I told you that in the last video. In the last video on this thing, we got the front end dropped, got new brakes on it. So now the thing has good brakes all the way around, all new brake lines, all new rotors, calipers, you name it, we upgraded. But today, we need to fix the AC. And so, look, I'm pretty sure it's the compressor, but anytime a compressor goes bad, guys, you really should opt, especially at the age of this vehicle, to replace several components. So what we're gonna be replacing is the dryer that you see, or accumulator, I guess you could call it, whatever you wanna call it. But either way, on the firewall there, we're gonna be replacing any seals that might possibly be in the system. We're gonna replace this guy, and I cannot ever remember the name of this, guys. I'll think of it in a minute. The compressor, which is in this box, and then we have a new condenser, which is obviously gonna go right here. So we've got some work cut out for us, that's for sure. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab my light. Of course, guys, like always, I'll list all this stuff in the description down below. A couple people have reached out to me on this GDP stuff. Look, I used it on the Formula. It works great. I've used it in the past and it worked great, and the availability of a GM compressor wasn't an option. So we're gonna go with this, and it's got a warranty, so if, you know, worst case scenario, we may have to replace it someday. But either way, I'm gonna go grab my hood light, and I'm gonna put it up on there, and then we're gonna start taking some stuff off that we need out of the way. Now, this system, I don't believe has anything in it, because, well, it doesn't work at all. The compressor doesn't kick even when I jump across the low pressure switch. So I'm pretty sure we're good to just open the system up and start the process. So here's what I figured. Since we're doing, you know, working on some electrical stuff, there's a couple plugs on the AC system. We better be safe, unhook the battery. So that's where we're gonna start. I'm just gonna unhook the negative cable here. Of course, I've got the aftermarket deal. So normally it's an 8mm, mine's a 3/4. So once we get that, I think the first thing, guys, where I'm gonna start is we're gonna have to have the intake off. I think we're gonna have to have the intake off anyway. Well, I know we're gonna have to get that reach over there. So I'm gonna go ahead and start there. We'll take the flat blade screwdriver, get this guy loose. Actually, and I think an 8mm will fit it as well. We'll get it loose here and here and get it completely out of the way, and then we'll move on to this. Once we got that guy out of place, I'm gonna go ahead and come in here with these nifty little clip removing tools. And I hate breaking these, guys, because I can never find ones that fit good. So I'm gonna carefully try to pull these all out, and then that'll give us access underneath, which I think we're gonna need. I think we'll probably have to pull the grill out as well, but we'll get to that. So we're definitely gonna have to take the grill off. No ifs, ands, or buts there. You can see we've got, you may be able to struggle and try to get it out of the way. Look at this power steering cooler, it is thrashed. My gosh, this truck has so many leaks, it's ridiculous. But either way, we need to get a 10mm out here, and then the rest of it, guys, is just clips. Now, because this thing's older and probably somewhat brittle, I do like to use these to kind of more or less push the clip out than me prying against it with my hand. I just think it, you know, betters your chance of not snapping it. I don't know, it may be snapped on the bottom. I don't think it is. This thing seems pretty solid, but... And then in the corners, you just kind of got to get your hand back behind it. I may have to get something to pry it out. There we go. We'll get the grill set over to the side. A lot of times, guys, your clip may stay. This one seems to be good. This grill's not perfect, but at least it doesn't seem to be cracked in any spots, which is good. We're gonna give this stuff a good cleanup. If you notice, there's a bunch of, like, I don't know if those are mice nests or just if this thing's set under a tree, but let's move on. Now I'm gonna start here on our next connection, which is a 13mm. There's a hard line that comes in here and then one on the bottom. The bottom one I'm not even sure, guys, yet if we'll be able to get this thing out through this direction. Maybe. And it did have a little bit left. I imagine it was just a little bit of oil. It like kind of made a little bit of noise. But we got that line off. Man, they're crusty. Okay. All right, so the bottom one will be a little tougher just because I'm using a ratcheting 13 here. That should make life a little easier. Get it off there, and then at least the lines will be loose, and then we're just gonna have to figure out, there's only 2 bolts that hold the condenser in place, and that's at the top here. These 2, there's a 10 millimeter here on this side and one on the other side. What I'm wondering though is, can we sneak it out? Because while the bottom of this is bolted in, the center support, the top is welded in. So we'll just have to see. We may have to take the headlight assembly and stuff out in order to get access to maybe thread it out this side. Don't know yet. Let's loosen these 2 10 millimeters. Ooh, those are tight. They'll hold this thing up top, and then we'll just kind of have to see how much room we got. I don't know, we may be able to kind of dip the bottom down. I don't know, we'll just have to see. I don't think we have that much room. It's loose. And these do have a little rubber grommet in them, so don't lose those. Should have used my impact. So it's loose, but doesn't seem loose enough. I think we're gonna have to take a couple more out. We're gonna take the 10 that holds the power steering cooler, and we'll take that 10 out, and then we may possibly take the 10 millimeter out. Let's buy all this dirt. This guy, I don't know how much room that's gonna give me though. We'll just have to see. Well, while getting that out, definitely gave me more movement. I don't know, I've got a couple options here. We can unhook the radiator and try to fold it back. The problem is with these ears right here, I just don't know how much room that would gain us. So here's what I'm gonna do. Since the headlights are relatively easy to take out, we'll just take them out. Generally not that easy. Get those out of place, and we'll get the side markers below it out of place, and we'll see if we can get this piece of plastic. It's just held in with some 10 millimeters. If we get it out, maybe we can sneak it out this way. I'm not really sure why GM did this, but there's a couple Torx up top, and I'll tell you what size they are in a minute, but we're gonna go ahead and get the 10s out. There's several of them that hold this guy in place. I don't know why I'm using that on this right now, but we'll get, there's one up here, the 2 Torx, one here, there, and I think that's it. Oh, there's one in the very bottom of the bracket. So what, 6 total 10 millimeters and then 2 Torx. Torx are a T25, but before I take those out, I'm gonna use my little pliers here and try to push this piece of like rubber insulation off, and that's not working. There we go. The head just pulled out. Pretty common. Get it out of there. These guys are holding that piece of like rubber, like a closeout panel, in place, and it's ripped on the bottom already. So we'll get those out, and then once we do that, honestly at this point with it being broken, I don't know that it really matters. Now we can get the Torx out. There's a little clip on the front plastic in the bumper. Pull off. There's another clip here. Looks like this little closeout panel that goes under the light. So we'll unclip it and then we'll drag this thing out of there. Well, did that help our cause? I don't know. Let's see what we're catching on here. Definitely catch on this lower hard line. Well, we're a little looser than we were. I think that's the ticket, guys. All right, out with the old. So look at all the debris down there. We're gonna take that out and I'm gonna vacuum it out off camera here. And just, this is a good time to clean that, to be real honest with you, because it's probably been setting for who knows how long, and that causes rust when that junk sets down there and settles. So we'll vacuum that out, and yeah, we got that piece off. I may go ahead, if the other one has a closeout, meaning like there's stuff to cap the lines off, I may go ahead and put it in. I don't want to get any junk in there while we're doing other things. So it does have caps, which is good. You can see those guys right there. That'll keep junk from getting in there. The other cool thing is, look, it comes with new rubber bushings. So basically, guys, we're gonna try to carefully run this thing back in there, and there are two little pieces of rubber that it sets in on the bottom. So you wanna try to make sure that you get those lined up. Don't force this. Trying to get it over to where it needs to go. Perfect. So now all we need to do is reverse the process. We're gonna go ahead and put our hardware back in, the 10 millimeters up top, get this thing lined back up the way it goes. And that's part of the job complete. Little more work than normal, but I'm gonna go ahead off camera and put all this stuff back in for the headlight as well, because I think we're pretty much done there. I may not put the little plastic clips in because we may have to route these lines differently. I'm not gonna worry about hooking these lines up yet because we're gonna be replacing some of this stuff, and leave your closeout caps in. Changed my mind on getting I snugged them down, but I didn't want to put this back in because I thought maybe we may need some access for this line. So the top line, guys, goes down here and goes to the compressor, which I'll show you in a minute, but the top, or the bottom line, so this guy down here at the very bottom, it goes up the fender and then hooks right here on the firewall. So we're gonna take our 13, probably better, it'd help if it were on loosen, and we're gonna loosen this line up. Now, the only thing plugged into this is obviously the front that we unhooked from the condenser, but underneath the box here, right here on the bottom, it sets in a clip, and we're gonna pop it out of that clip. Hopefully you guys can see that on the bottom there. We're gonna get it popped out of that clip, and then this line will be free. I'm hoping I can route it out this direction, and the only reason I'm taking it out is I wanna blow it out, make sure that we get all the junk out of it, and then I believe, if I remember correctly, I think our replacement piece goes in that line, but we'll just have to see. Let's get it out first. I was able to thread that line out the front, which was definitely a pain. What I should have done, guys, is I should have loosened this off the truck, or on the truck, sorry. We need to get this separated right here. So I've got a 7/8 and a 3/4, and man, I really wish I had done this in the truck. I would have given me quite a bit more leverage, but we need to get this guy loosened up and out of here so I can blow these lines out and then replace our piece here. Holy cow, that was a fight getting that apart. There must be something on that. Either way, once we get this, the long part, So the big long line, we're gonna yank this thing out of here. You can see it in the end. I said this in the last video, guys, I need a new pair of needle nose pliers. This thing is slick. There's junk coming out of it. You can see the dye. Somebody's obviously looking for a leak at some point. Look at the dye coming out of it. Either way, we need to get this out. I'm gonna blow this line out, and then I'm gonna clean it off, and I'm gonna blow it out again. And we'll leave it off until we're, getting closer to going back together. But I wanna pull this thing out and make sure it's nice and clean, dry, before I put the new one in. Ended up having to use some C-clamp or pliers to get this thing out. But look, it does have a ton of junk in it and smells terrible. So we're gonna get the new one put in, but like I said, before I do that, we're gonna clean out this line and clean the line. Next line I'm gonna loosen up is this 13 right here. I already started it, I guess, earlier. This, guys, runs from right here down to the compressor and then kind of tees off into that line that runs to the front. And the whole goal here is to get all the lines cleaned out of any junk or debris that may be in them and replace as much as we possibly can. So we'll get this off here. And then there's a couple plugs that we need to unplug. One of which is right here, pretty obvious. The other one is down here, a little closer to the compressor. There's a line down here. And there'll probably be another line actually that engages the compressor, but we'll get to that a little later. For now, I'm just worried about this one right here. There we go. Get it unplugged and lay it to the side. And then I don't know. Oh, those lines are actually separated. It looks like one's a 10 millimeter down there and one is a 13 millimeter. So we'll bust those loose and get this line completely out as well. So this was the 10 millimeter on the compressor, 13 on the firewall. And guys, the main reason we got this out is to replace those nasty seals that are probably leaking and to give this guy a good blowout here. And we'll scrub the outside as well. Got that other line off, the one that came to the front here. And you could see what a nasty mess it is. Same situation, that's the 13, the lower one that goes to the bottom of the compressor and then out to the condenser. So now we're gonna focus on the piece on the firewall. I've got the new one out. I just wanted to make sure it didn't come with a switch, a pressure switch. I didn't figure it did. So I'm gonna take that off while it's still on the firewall. To loosen this guy up, I'm using a 5/8. Doesn't take much, they're not super tight. And guys, look, the new one's not gonna come with this hardware. And when I say hardware, it's not gonna have, man, that stuff's everywhere. It's not gonna have this like heat protective over it. So once we got that off, there's really only two things holding this. There's a 10 millimeter that holds this little clamp along the bottom. And then we only have one more 13 millimeter and we can have this guy off. Actually, that clamp holds nothing. The only thing that was holding it on was that 13 up top. This clamp holds nothing other than this, I don't know, foam or protective shielding. So here's what I'm planning on doing. Since we can take this off, let's take it off and transfer it to the other. I'm sure that it helps as far as like keeping this thing protected. Or I don't know, it's aluminum, so it's not making it rust or anything. So we'll transfer that over. I'll clean it up off camera and transfer this guy over. This is definitely the original. So hopefully you guys can see the plug right here. There, you can see it right there. We need to unplug that. And then we need to take, there's only 4 bolts that hold the compressor actually in. It's got one back here, you can see right there underneath the manifold. It's got another one up front. This one that you see right here is actually the bracket. It does not hold the actual compressor in. But before we do that, we need to grab a 15 millimeter and take the belt off. We have to take the main drive belt off because it has to come off before we can get down there and take the lower belt off. So I'm going to unplug this. I'm going to take the belt off, and then I'm going to try to slide underneath, take the cover off, and maybe we can see a little more. I can give you guys a little better view at the bottom. Now that we've taken off this bottom panel, we have a little more access, but it's still not great. You can see that if you put a 3/8 drive in that idler pulley or that tension pulley, we can go ahead and get the belt loose. So that's our next step. I will tell you guys, it's gonna be a reach to get to the 15s. You can see them along the bottom there. You can see right above the grease fitting there on the idler arm. Right back there, there's a 15, and there's another one right on the other side of that idler, or the pulley that we're gonna take the belt off of. So it's gonna be a reach. I don't have any good way to get my camera in there and show you guys. And you may actually be able to get it from the top, but it is going to be a struggle. After getting all the bolts loose, generally, guys, I like to leave the top ones here. You can see that we've got it out, and the reason I say leave the top ones, if you take the bottom ones out last, you're gonna have a ton of pressure on that. Now, the other thing you'll notice is this one, the one closest to the front of the motor, I left in because there's something in the way that holds the front differential in that will not allow you to get this thing completely out. So what you do is you thread it all the way back up against it and just leave it in place. Then take this one back out, which I was able to access from the actual side here in the back. And then we took the top ones out. Now there is one short one, which if you look here makes sense. See, the short one goes in here, long one here. This is the only short one out of the bunch. So now that we got this old turd out of the way, it's time to go grab our new one. One other thing I completely forgot to tell you guys, I was able to sneak that thing. If you kind of push the bottom down, you can sneak it up between the manifold here and the frame. You do have room to bring it up this way. I don't know how else, I don't see any way you could possibly get it, especially if you're a 4-wheel drive and you have the pitman arm and the idler arm down there and the drag link. I don't see any way to sneak it through the front. I just don't. You might be able to take your heater core lines off if you had to, but I was able to sneak it out. So that's just the method. I wanted to tell you guys that. And that's the same way we're gonna go back in with the new one. Let's take a look at both of them side by side. They look pretty identical, guys. You got, obviously, I guess this would be a better way to look at it. You can see the holes that cover up, they keep covered. I'm gonna keep that in place until we're ready to put the lines in. That'll be the absolute last thing I do. You don't wanna accidentally sneak junk in there while you're trying to thread it in. But there's one thing that I noticed that there's a pressure switch. You have to have snap ring pliers if you had to put that in. We don't have to worry about that. Our pressure switch isn't located in the actual compressor itself. So we've got our wiring harness just like the other one. You can see it here on the side. Obviously it's a lot cleaner. It's not gonna stay that way because this motor leaks so much. But either way, I'm gonna get this thing in. Remember, we need to take our bolt out and make sure it's in here. Otherwise, you're never gonna get it in. So we need to make sure that that bolt is going in at the same time the compressor is. But other than that, it's literally, take one out, put the next one in. We got this thing in and tight. Guys, 37 foot-pounds is what it's supposed to torque to. I will tell you that you're gonna struggle to get a torque wrench in the bottom ones. So I just ran them down snug. You don't get crazy because you'll break the casing, but the top ones I was able to torque to 37. I did go ahead and plug in our plug that came out of the old compressor. Still got the one down there that goes into the line. Remember, we had that one earlier. But now I've got some work to do over there cleaning up all those parts. And all I'm doing, guys, I'm cleaning the outside of the lines, obviously, but then I'm going to blow them out with some compressed air out of my compressor over there. And then we'll start reassembly, and I'll kind of show you guys as we go what that looks like. I've started cleaning up some of these pieces. I figured, look, you can't do much with this. I did repaint that little band. And so what I'm gonna do is we're gonna sandwich this back around just like the factory had it. I don't know if it's necessary, guys, but hey, it's not completely destroyed. So let's try to put it back on there. Got it back on there. Doesn't look great, but painting that band definitely made things look a little nicer. I don't know if you can even order this, guys, but either way, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm hoping that this thing has a new seal here. If it doesn't, it's not a big deal because we have a whole bag of them. It doesn't. Okay, so we're gonna get the one that fits this, and I'm gonna clean that off with brake clean on the firewall. This one I don't really see needs cleaning because it was sealed. Just be careful not to get anything in this if you do like what I did. In fact, I'm gonna close that up. I did not tighten this 10 millimeter all the way because I wanna kinda have it kind of rest against the firewall, kind of over this stuff down here. So you don't have to do that, but I think it's a good idea to wait and tighten the 10 millimeter here until you get that up there. So let's see if we can get this cleaned off and get that new seal here. Got that cleaned off. So now we need to determine the appropriate seal. That one's a little too small. And then guys, I've got all of them kind of right here. So just find the one that fits the best. It's nice. I tell you what, we may look at the other one to see what size it is, because I don't want to put the wrong size on there. That one's pretty snug. I think we need to go up. Let's look at our old one here. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to take that one off and use it to size the new one. Found the right size based off the other one. That's why you keep your old stuff around. Now let's get this thing put up against there and get our 13 millimeter at least threaded down snug. Got that 13 snug down, pretty snug, guys. I don't know the torque specs on that, but it is aluminum, so be careful. Now you can see that I've tightened up the bracket down there and it goes over that stud. I don't really know the purpose. I guess it gives it a little additional support. It mainly holds this aluminum foil, I'd call it, around this. So I don't know. I don't know if it's even necessary, but anyway, on to our line cleaning. We've still got several lines over there to clean. I'll do that off camera, and then we'll just kind of keep piecing things together. One other thing I'm going to do since I'm here, I clean this guy off. This is our pressure switch. One of them. I think there's two in the system. There's one down by the actual unit itself. So I got that on there. We're just going to snug it down as well. Should be a 5/8. And you don't have to get crazy here, guys. It has a little rubber seal in it that comes new with this piece we just installed. Probably should have put it on off the truck. All right, so that's on there, and we can actually go ahead and plug this guy in as well. These things cleaned up really, really well. So what I did, guys, is I put I cleaned them off, you know, like just the grody stuff, like on the ledges and stuff. But then I took some steel wool and brushed against them. So they look like they're like kind of polished up in some spots. They're not, but it looks that way. So now I went ahead and blew them out. So I used my little attachment on my compressor, blew all these lines out. We don't want any junk in there. So now we can start the reassembly process. You could see that I've set the seals. This one's really, really weak. I've set the seals up beside each one of the hoses so I know what goes where. So now we just need to match up the new seals with what we took off and then get these bolted down to the truck. I'm going to bolt all the ones down that are pretty common. This one right here, this long metal one, and this guy, I'm going to show you because we need to put this guy in before we do that. And that guy goes in the end of this big long hose. Figured I'd just cut in and show you a few that I have hooked up. So obviously this guy, 13 down to that compressor. We've got the hard line. Well, I say hard line. There's a 13 millimeter that goes on the bottom side of the compressor. So the compressor has two pieces that bolt to it. The bottom line that comes to it goes to the bottom, or sorry, to the top here. Got that hooked up. And now I'm working on the last one, which is the one that's going to require us to put in that piece. But what I did here was I need to pull this off, go ahead and thread. You should get some new inserts if you order a new one here. And so I need to thread that in, get that started. And then we could come up here and hook this one up. So before I do that though, we need to shove our new piece into the end of this. So that goes right here in the end. If I can get this thing out of here with one hand, that'd be great. Actually, I'm going to cut it open. We need to put that in the end of this line right here before we attach that. Let's take a look at what I'm talking about here. So I haven't hooked up the other end because to me it's a little easier. So that guy pushes in here and it should go quite a ways in. There we go. It's all the way in there. See this little indentation right here? That keeps it in place from going all the way down the line. So we're good now. We can go ahead and grab our other little short piece and get this stuff hooked back up. One other thing here, this line takes a different kind of seal. You can see what I'm talking about. This one takes the standard, just size it up with your other. Same thing here though, mine was really worn out. So we've got a new one on here and it comes with, I've got so many extras, I probably never have to order these again. But either way, now we can put this thing in place. We are rocking. All right, so here's what we've got done. We got all the lines on. Guys, this one right here is a pain. I recommend before you hook this end up and the end on the front here at the bottom, get this started. 7/8 on this side, 3/4 on this side, and you can snug that down once you get it started, get it on the truck. Go ahead and cinch down the 13 on both ends. And then once it's cinched down, you can hold it with the 3/4 on this side and tighten up the 7/8. But all the lines are on, all new seals, cleaned up the lines really well. Got the new compressor down there. The only thing I have to do, guys, is I have to reach down there somehow and, oh, actually, look at that. I already plugged the compressor in. Okay, so I take that back. At this point, we're all finished installing parts, aside from I am going to order a new belt, both the serpentine and the AC belt. I'm going to order new ones. We're going to put those on and we will be ready to fill this thing up with freon and hopefully have some AC. One other thing I wanted to talk about before I actually take this thing down and get it filled up. I still haven't had it aligned yet from when we messed with the suspension. So a couple things that I want to talk about actually. One is I'm going to go ahead and put this all back on with the grill. I know these headlights are gross. We're going to address that down the road. I don't know, guys, whether you should actually paint this black. Obviously, you're going to be able to see that. The GMC grill is a little better than the others. What I am going to do, though, is I'm probably going to, I don't know if I'm going to do it now or when I do the headlights, but I'm going to paint this area here. But I did get a couple new belts from Gates. I will list these part numbers down below as well. And guys, it does depend on what alternator you have, which belt, main drive belt you get. The AC one's the same, but the main drive belt, if you have like if this thing is really flat looking or kind of snub nose looking, that is the bigger alternator. This one's just the standard 105. So there are different belts depending on what you have there. The other thing, guys, is as you can see down below, I need to put my the shielding back up on there, just some 15mm bolts. So I will cut back in this video and let you guys know how it came out as far as the air working, and then obviously I also need to put my intake tube back in. So either way, like I said, I'll check back in here in just a second and let you know how it came out. But that is the last things to tie up before driving this thing down to get it filled up. I suggest getting it filled by somebody that is a professional, unless you have the gauges and know how to do it yourself. Don't go and try to buy a bunch of little cans at O'Reilly's or your local parts store and try to fill it up, guys. That is not the proper way to do this. You really need a vacuum. You need to put a vacuum on this and at least vacuum it for 10 minutes before you actually fill it up. So we're going to do that, and then we will let you know how it works. As you can see, guys, got it all back together. I actually just got back from getting the AC filled up, and oh, I had them align it too. So it's a buddy of mine has a shop, and he has like a brand new AC machine, hooks it up, pulls vacuum, and then fills it up, and the AC is working incredible, guys. As far as alignment goes, look, we knew going into this, as far as the alignment, if you guys have been keeping up with the suspension stuff I've been doing, we kind of knew what was going to happen there. It needs really one of everything, guys. We only replaced the uppers and lowers, and of course we did that in a different video when we did the brakes, but it needs a drag link, pitman arm, steering box, idler arm, inner and outer tie rods. It literally needs one of everything. It needs a lower steering shaft, probably needs an upper steering shaft. But anyway, so the AC is working. Got it, like I said, I got it filled up. Not really gonna be able to tell. I mean, I could tell you guys that it works, but I can't really, you know, obviously you guys can't feel the cold air coming out, but definitely a big difference, which will make it nice. Look, just in time for, well, I guess it's 80 degrees out right now, but just in time for fall, we get a working AC in this truck. But either way, just another thing to check off the list, guys. I'm kind of wearing down on this truck a little bit, but we still got some more stuff to do. But I don't know. I've just been thinking about other things, and maybe we'll get to that in another video down the road. But until then, I've got some other stuff that I want to do that I want to show you guys. But if you did enjoy this video, if this is something that you need on your truck, pretty simple. And honestly, guys, it's not super expensive as far as parts go. I think the compressor, the lines, all the parts that I use in this video were maybe 250 bucks, I think. The new belts were like 60 bucks. But anyway, I'll list all that stuff in the description like always. But if you guys did enjoy this video, please, like always, smash that thumbs up button. If you guys are not subscribed, go down there, hit that subscribe button. Of course, ring that bell icon that notifies you every time we drop a new video. And stay tuned to see what we work on next.